Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek. Hey, welcome back, everybody. For today's Tuesday topic, a double giant Star Trek unboxing and review on Open House Eve. What you thought about that? Welcome back to Trekland Tuesdays Live with Dr. Trek. That's me, Larry Nemecek, coming at you from right here in the heart of Trekland through Portal 47 every week at this time on Tuesdays, wherever you are. Hey, our regulars are jumping into the chat. I suggest you too. If you're new to Trekland Tuesdays Live, welcome. Glad to have you here. Eventually, we're going to get right into chat. After I take a midway break, I'm going to pontificate here. We're going to have some actual action events. And then I'll take a midway break and come back with the Parrot Analytics ratings for the week. And then we'll get into full-scale chat. Here on the eve of, yay, our annual, and this year our fifth anniversary open house for Portal 47. I hope you've gone over to LarryNemecek.com and clicked in and saved a seat so you're there for the door prizes and a little bit of open mic, and most of all for an hour with Star Trek Generations, Star Trek DS9's pilot emissary, yesterday's Enterprise, the director of all those, David Carson, who, I mean, how often do you hear from David Carson? But you veterans know that's what Portal 47 is all about. Not the same old you see everywhere else. Hey, guys, I'm excited. We're getting into the holiday season here, whatever holiday is you're marking. And I just thought this week, after I've done this a couple of times recently, we just do the Star Trek goodies are piling up. All from my friends. And I thought we'd just do a double boxing today, okay? Plenty of time to get to whatever you want to talk about in the chat also, though. But let's just start. Let's just jump in here. I vaguely know what these are, so I'll do a little mini review on the spot, okay? Did you see? Was that visible enough? Do I need to get more visuals? See, since we're on camera? I'll just do this. Okay, boom, boom. My mom's scissors. Okay. Anyway, guys, pile in there. Talk amongst yourselves. If you're new, we'll get to you. And if you're on Twitch, I promise we'll get to you in, a few minutes. And as I do this, I realize that I also need to thank, our Patreons once again. Here's all of our Patreons this week in the TTL Club and the Live Wires. So thank you, Blaze K, Lawrence Todd, Blake Arledge, and our Live Wires, Rusty Harrell, Jared Cooper, Eli Irvin, Halbert Gunn Johnson, Jalen Bullock, Gary Williams, and Robert McLean. Thank you, guys. You're helping out here spread the Trekland word through the intertubes. I'll tell you more about how to do that yourselves if you're interested. So here we go. Oh, I'm boxing off camera. There we are. Penguin Random House. In the news recently. We talked about that on the last Ask Dr. Trek Roundtable Portal. Okay. I mean, I'm not kidding. Ooh. Very nice. Oh, and I want to thank Kevin Kumar P. Look what's in here. The Art of Star Trek Discovery. Yay. Now, it's another great one from our friends Paula and Terry, Paula Block and Terry Erdman. Wow, I guess I should open it up. Should I have a Christmas morning here? Of course I could. Look, it's this has been out actually since November 10th. So all of these are great Christmas gifts. This was obviously a coffee table book, right? So it's going to be a lot. It's going to be art heavy, but there's some writing in it. It's 192 pages. Yeah. Right now, both of them, they always have catalog prices, but they're always below that. This is like $10 off on Amazon right now. And I'm going to do not just an unboxing today. I don't want to spear it. Anybody else out there already got your copy? It has been out for a while. I'm a little slow on the uptick here to get my review copy. Has been here for a week. All righty, there we go. Gorgeous cover. Now, obviously, this is, I don't know how far into, if they Third season sat there on the box on the shelf for a long time, but the saga of the startup, let's see, we've got some short treks here. I'm just looking. Stretching. We're into the second season. A lot of CGI artwork, a lot of production design. So if you're into graphics, there's a lot of costume reference in here. If you're trying to do something with props and CGI and, there's a lot of production art that's in here for the art fan, but also, prop detail, CGI. There we go. Hey. So yeah, it's a behind the scenes. Oh, I see a blueprint. Okay. You get the idea, right? This is from Titan Publishing. Ever since they limbered up the nonfiction license for publishing, it's been wonderful to let other people into the game too, to get more creative. This is a good old-fashioned, wonderful, like long-form art book, coffee table book. And it's great if you've got a Discovery fan on your list. Just a ton of, it's dense. It is so dense. It's light on the copy, but it has just enough copy. So no huge long interviews, but there are quotations here all the way through from several key players. Look, more background than you've ever known about Osnulus, the Osnulus. We actually finally... Oh, sorry, I can't start reading now. Let's look at the other box, okay? And if you've got one of these, sound off in the chat this week. We'll see what's going on. Hope everybody is having a decent week, or decent fair to middling, or maybe even an outstanding week. I'm having a crazed week because, as I said, tomorrow night is open house, and I'm behind on all the planning and prep. I hope you can join us. I'm not doing it on camera. There we go. I'm cheating you of all the drama. What the point is having a box opening if we're not opening a box? Okay, this one I know. Damn. We don't pull any punches here. Okay. And we got more big bubble wrap. Yeah. Ta-da. Then from our friends at Eagle Moss and Ben, Star Trek Voyager Celebration. Poor Voyager. COVID, the pandemic, so robbed them of so much of the live events that everyone was hoping for. A lot of our friends, a lot of our TTLers, a lot of our Portales in Trekland are huge Voyager fans. There's Voyager fans everywhere. And my arrival in LA was all about the beginning of Voyager. And here we go. Now, just to let you know, after I open this up, shrink wrap away. So this is by Ben Robinson and various folks who contributed over the years to... I want to see what the art design looks like in this. There have been some interior pages. It's not a companion, so to speak. My friend Paul Roditis did a companion years ago, instructed to be very bare bones about it. So if people who have complained that the Voyager companion was not up to the same level as the Next Gen and the DS9, that's why. He was under marching orders to keep it what it was. This Voyager is organized by people and directors in some highlight episodes. A lot of artwork here. A lot of photos, a lot of behind the scenes photos, a lot of text here, bulked up by artwork. This is like the third book about Voyager. Stephen Poe Whitfield, who did the original Making of Star Trek book late in his life. He was being diagnosed with cancer, but he wrote a Voyager book, A Vision of the Future. I've got it up on the shelf, right in the early days. So it covers a lot of the opening of Voyager, the prep, the setup. And but this is Voyager, a celebration, had a cover sticker. Oh my goodness. For the anniversary, 25 years. Wow. But this is from Hero Collector. Oddly enough, this also came in a box from Penguin Random House, which, as you've been watching the news, was just the acquirer of Simon & Schuster as the newly reunited CBS Viacom sold off its longtime publisher, which is the reason that Simon & Schuster has the license ever since the motion picture. When licensing got to be a thing at the time of the motion picture in the late 70s, Paramount just said, we're going to keep that license in-house, Bantam and Valentine. So there you go. Another awesome book here. This one is even bigger than the Discovery book. It is 248 pages, so almost 50. Still, it's over 3 pounds. It's not what I think of as a coffee table book, but it can sit on a shelf. But it's massive on your shelf, or it can take its place on a coffee table vertical, either way. Anyway, the Voyager fans on your list would love to have this. There's some pieces in here that I've had in my collection that I've used at like convention talks for years. Yeah, some of this stuff used to just be what we would pass along at conventions back in the old days. Now that we're online, and especially now that we're in COVID, everything is out there all over the place. So if you can find something that's still a nugget, it's great. This is a book, though. You'll have to read it. But a lot of big pictures, too. Oh, yeah, I just passed the warp 10. Yeah. So everybody's represented in here. There's comments here from Bob Blackman in costumes and Mike Westmore. It's not just the same old again. And a lot of the story. Dan has a book out too, but Dan Curry does. But a lot of the story from visual effects here and hand in glove with art department about the revolution. It was the Voyager watch that really bridged everything, being solid models, analog models, motion control, shooting, to total CGI modeling and animation, compositing. So there you go. The Star Trek Voyager celebration again. Not a highlight author because it's pulling from a lot of sources. I think Ben is actually technically listed as, can I get to it? Wow. There is no, I think he's listed as editors, what I'm trying to say here, with writing all the connecting tissue. Yeah. It's a collection book. It's from Eagle Moss, so they're pulling on assets that go all the way back to the fact files and all the way back to the thick Star Trek magazine that ran for 5 years when the shows were in process. There you go. A double boxing. Hey, guys, we were pretty heavy last week, and I was glad to say that a lot of my comments on Twitter were appreciated. My comments about Twitter and about trying to take a breath before we just respond, but also understanding what's motivating everybody. It's all part of a big picture. Anyway, something a little lighter, a little less whatever. Oh, the other thing is, look, there are 2 copies of that Voyager book. I keep mentioning the open house tomorrow night. This is one of our door prizes. This Voyager book is one of our door prizes. Also one of the Tribble Nerd books. And also, well, a Blu-ray set of Picard Season 1. Okay? We're going to have some fun tomorrow night. Make sure you go over to LarryNemecek.com. Go over to LarryNemecek.com and click in there and just leave your email. So A, you're in the list. You get the mailing for all the linkages, where to see it. And B, you're in the list for the door prizes. Okay? This is our 5th anniversary. Portal 47 is 5 years old. Can you believe it? I've been doing this for 3 years. Yeah, it'll be 3 years. No, it'll be 4 years next spring. Wow. Every week I've missed 2 weeks for holidays or what have you. So, guys, there we go. Voyager, a celebration. Awesome. And the art of heaviness in Star Trek. There we go, guys. Let's get them in there. Let's get them up. Yeah. Give them their due. Great stuff. And a lot of other books too. A lot of smaller pieces too. If you've got smaller fans on your list, there we go. Hey, that's going to do it for right now. If you're watching us on YouTube, a short and sweet show this week. But I do want to remind you of a couple of things. Once again, thanking you. And if you're not, if you're with us live, and if you're on Facebook, hang on. We'll take a midway break, and I will be back, yes, with all the Parent Analytics updates about Voyager, about Discovery and the digital world in general there. And of course, we'll get back to chat in just a second. But again, one more shout out to all of our TTLers and our live wires. If you would like to be a Patreon supporter, it's no big deal. I just have 2 simple layers for shout outs and for access to our first couple of years of or earlier years. It'll grow. We've been doing it 5 years, 1 a month. All of our wonderful backstage behind the scenes guests, many of whom you've never heard from before. That's at the $10 level. So thank you guys. Patreon.com/Trekland Live. Thanks a lot for that. And hey, we are still on hiatus, but barely. We are recording new episodes for the Trek Files as we speak. We've got several in the can, and hang on. I preemptively said we were back today. Obviously not. Hold on, maybe next week, but you'll see. You'll see. Before Christmas, we'll be back with you every week and then run straight through the holidays, no breaks, just like Discovery. The Trek Files right out of Gene's drawers, as we say with a guest every week. The Trek Files on Facebook, the only podcast that gives you paperwork. And then Saturdays, I hope you can join us. We're chugging right along with Life Support Live, Dr. Trek and Dr. Ali. One of us is a real doctor because we are boldly going through uncertain times. That's our mission every week at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, and 7 Central Europe. So love for you to join us there. Exactly the same places where you're watching right now. Other than that, guys, all along the way, if you're with me on YouTube, that's my Twitter at Larry Nemecek. And if you're watching us on Facebook, that's my Instagram, Larry Nemecek's Trekland. And if you enjoy all this, if you like the way I approach Star Trek, if you like the insights that I bring of 30 years practically now on the front row, and even more than that as a fan, join us in Portal 47. In fact, you should join us tomorrow night for the open house. The one time a year I bring it all out for the public, and everybody can see exactly what we do every month. If you enjoy Tuesdays Live, it's even more so. We take several deep dives a month, different ways, different formats. And we were virtual 5 years before it was cool. Hey, everybody. Listen, thanks for being around for that unboxing. That was kind of short, sweet, breezy, but hopefully we whetted your taste. Paula and Terry's book, Ben and the team that put together all those assets. Some things from back in the day. There's a huge page of thank yous. It would take too long to read. But I'm glad to see Eagle Moss or Hero Collector is accessing the archives, a lot of which I contributed to. So there you go. Join us after the break. But if you're leaving us right now, just remember, please stay healthy out there. I mean, really, be smart. Be smarter than a virus, please. Stay woke. Check all the sources of what you might be looking at and getting angry about or being curious about. Check out that person, check out that source. And most of all, just trek well, everybody. All right. Oh, damn. I wanted to do a special shout out. Wow, we lost Chuck Yeager yesterday, 97, and he was tweeting the last 2 or 3 years with folks. That was just amazing to me, and you knew it couldn't go on forever, and sadly it has. But in the first wave, I'm just thinking about breaking the sound barrier. A lot of us know it best from the scene in The Right Stuff, right? Glamorous Glennis, the Bell X1, breaking the sound, breaking Mach 1 for the first time. It was kind of a thing that was echoed. I mean, we love Threshold, but the whole breaking the warp 10 barrier thing was kind of inspired by that. But also the test pilots, BG Robinson, BG, BC, BG, whatever. On Enterprise, breaking the warp 3 barrier, was it? That whole thing of breaking the barrier mystique goes back to Chuck Yeager. 1947, yes, I know, the Roswell year too, 47. All of that, and Star Trek's appropriately honored Chuck Yeager over the years. There have been 3 different starships named Yeager, just to remind everybody, in different eras. TNG and DS9, and yes, the Battle of the Binary Stars had a Yeager. The Kit Bash ship that you see floating around DS9 all the time in stock footage was a Kit Bash ship that became a Yeager. The Yeager Loop as a flyby, and of course, Chuck Yeager is in the historical montage at the opening credits that you could at least mute, even if you don't want to hear the song. For Enterprise, he's right there walking, doing his test pilot. A lot of them wound up being stunts. Oh, if they had stunt pilots performing some of the things those test pilots were doing at Edwards. Yeah, Chuck Yeager is very much a part of the Star Trek mythos there. And we should mention him. And what a life. What a life, and what a giving, clear-eyed, level-headed soul all these years later, and out there still pitching for decency and bravery and adventure and patriotism and pushing the envelope. Risk is our business. If ever there was a guy that personified that, it was Chuck Yeager. Okay, there. The front end will miss out on that, but there you go. Let's look at the parrots, guys. Parrot Analytics, the company out of New Zealand, many years ago, 10, 11 years ago, we started catching them at the beginning of Discovery. They made it their business to come up with a way to compare and contrast all these digital shows that are not on conventional broadcast, that don't have commercials, that don't have the Nielsen's to give us ratings, viewer ratings. So the next best thing, I guess, is measuring internet activity and promotional activity and, reaction. So currently they're using their algorithm here called average demand expression. They measure it every week. They measure it in many countries. We've been watching the US, although occasionally look askance when they promote that, other countries. And they measure the digital onlys, plus they look at everything. And this week, the top 10 of the digital onlys is, yes, Discovery is in there. And yes, we have been watching it with this figure right around being, the way they measure it now, 30, a factor. Discovery has been right at 33 to 36 and change times more popular than an average show. And they carve up the entire spectrum of digital shows and then digital and everything, with the bottom quarter being below average, and then the vast middle, the vast half, they're from like 23, 24 to 64 being average, and then everything above 64% percentages in average demand expression being above average, getting into good, outstanding, and exceptionals, kind of logarithmic a little bit. Well, Discovery's been showing up almost since its return here for season 3 at about 36 times more popular than an average show. And it's been anywhere in the top 10 the whole time doing that, as high as number 3. Now, right now, The Mandalorian is blowing it out of the water. It's finally over 3 digits. It's at 126 times more popular than an average show. And Animaniacs, which is back, is at 62. Huge drop to number 2 is 62. And then The Crown is right behind it at 62 times more popular. Then The Clone Wars, with the synergy out of The Mandalorian, is at 57 times more popular. Then Stranger Things, 44. Titans, 39. And then Star Trek Discovery at number 6, about where it's been all year, 654. But it's ticked up on its actual factor number. Discovery is 37.8 times more, so an uptick of a couple of points. So more talk, more chatter, more reaction online going on with Discovery. Then you got The Witcher, Umbrella Academy, and Lucifer rounding out the top 10. Overall, Mandalorian is number 1. Then you got SpongeBob, My Hero Academia. Then 3 digitals, the next 3, Animaniacs, The Crown, and Clone Wars. And yay for them. Any network you see in the top 10 overall here, Hulu, Netflix, and Disney Plus. again. Then Saturday Night Live, Supernatural, big finish for that. Game of Thrones still, and Attack on Titan. Number 10 is at 50.6. So that's above Stranger Things, Titans, and then Discovery out of the top 10 of the digital originals. So there's Discovery hanging in. In fact, the trend line on Discovery, if you look at the individual show stats, it's up. This week it ranked as, well, it was more popular than 100% of all drama titles, which it's like, well, where's The Mandalorian? Does that fit in there? But its trend line is still up. It took off like a shot, dropped a little second or third week, and then it's been on a gradual uptick ever since. Right now, for the last 30 days, the average is 36.7 times more popular than an average show. We just saw it uptick to 37.8. So that's where the trend, the weekly trend line is leading the monthly average. So not to lose you in the weeds, but Discovery is being very stable and slowly ticking up there. I guess it's time to look and see what you guys are all about. So, hey, if anybody new is over on Twitch, now we'll talk. Okay. But I am back scrolling as I always do. We are back at the beginning saying hi to everybody. I just want to get through the soapbox and talk. And yes. Hey, Nathaniel, I hope we gave you a break from printing miniatures. That's tough work. So I hope we got to you there. Christoph is excited for vaccines. Well, we'll see. They're slow to come over here. I know that's in the background. Hey, Rose, you're in a Dublin hotel. Okay. Can't do Zoom. Yes, of course. We'll have, this show is always archived on YouTube and Facebook, as you heard me say. Facebook keeps the entire show with all the chat, but it's limited to the Facebook input, sadly. And YouTube, I edit it down so that it's more YouTube friendly. That's why we go to the first half hour. That was a learned trait. Learned trait. We finally got to YouTube. Guys, episode number 1 is on Facebook. You can go all the way back to the rough beginnings before all the snappy high-tech patter and presentation. Yeah, it was pretty rough. The unboxing I thought I could do last week, but last week I got the idea to do it unboxing. I've had the boxes sitting here for over a week. So yeah. Dan says happy motion picture day for yesterday. Absolutely. If ever there was a nice way to overwrite, but not to take away from the memory of here in the States, Pearl Harbor Day. Always thought that was odd back in the day for motion picture to be, but that was the Friday. That was the time. Yeah. Stephen DeFroy, what about the crossover prime timeline with the Kelvin timeline and Discovery? Here we go, guys. I know the internet has been all wound up talking about that. So as usual, I try to do something different and not just pile on, but that's where everybody is. We'll see. We'll see. I think it's just funny. I said last week, people are obsessed with the Kelvin timeline. There have been many more hours spent in the mirror universe now. We've had lots of other alternate timelines, as you saw in Parallels. We had the timeline where the Borg won, which I guess isn't going to be too dramatic unless you're all about one little ship against, I mean, talk about a Star Wars times 100. One little ship, the Ragtag Enterprise D against the Borg. And Bearded Riker, I don't know. Well, no, Bearded Riker was on the D. Yeah, that would be the host ship, wouldn't it? That would be. I don't know. I do not know, Stephen, but we will see. And hi, I don't know if this is your first time with us, but let's see. Well, it was actually, Tim, it was actually yesterday. Now, it was 41 years ago today for me, because I've told this story. I was in college and a theater speech major, and we all had to judge the high school tournament that we hosted every year, you know, as a recruiting tool for the department. And it was all day long, but there were finals at night, and they needed all of my core gang and me to be there. If we had hightailed it out for just a Star Trek movie in 1979, our ass would have been grass. So we all had to wait and drive to Norman to the Satellite Twin the next day, but it was still just as awesome. And I will never forget, as the opening came by, the flyby, the approach of the Klingon cruisers came by. I'm in my theater seat like this, and my little brother's sitting next to me. And the first thing, I'm watching the screen and just caught up in it. And the next thing I know, my brother's hand is on my chest, like we're in a slow motion car wreck without seatbelts. His hand is on my chest, pushing me back because he's embarrassed that I'm leaning for. I like totally subconsciously leaned forward to get as close to the screen as I could as those Klingon Tingas got closer and closer. Tingas got closer and closer. He's like, "You're embarrassing me. Just lean back, you're embarrassing me." And I'm like, oh. And then I'm like, what do you mean I'm embarrassing? Who cares? Who cares? That's my memory. Yeah. And going, oh, okay, that was it, huh? That was what all the 10 years of waiting was. It was awesome. We went back 4 or 5 times over the next few weeks. Pop those. Oh no, we saved them, Dominic. We saved that plastic for yeah, we save it. Okay, let me move this over here. Let's see, everybody. Simon and Schuster and Penguin and Random House. Yes, it's a sex romp comedy from the late 60s. Cairo. Exactly. You see the pattern there. Okay, Alonka, I don't know if we caught you. Did you get to see? We'll see. All we need to do to get the vaccine is go to the Planet from Code of Honor. Did you really want to bring that up? No Lieutenant, yeah, and no vaccine. Yeah. Some interesting info in that. I've got questions. Okay, there we go. Yes. Well, good on you, Dan. I need to have a format to do author. I have a lot of questions. The guy that was doing, aside from Mark and Ed, the guy that was interviewing people way before everybody else these days needs a format to be doing interviews in. It's fun. Oh, there you go, Dan. Been out even longer in the UK than stateside. That doesn't surprise me at all. Oh, well, I think you'll survive, Justin. You got a packet from Fansets. Boy, Lou and John, they've been burning it up lately with all the stuff in there. Yep. There is a disco concept that shows the UNN Discovery on the hull, but it's not referenced in the text. Well, welcome to the world of Star Trek backgrounding. Oh, I'm really sorry, Rose. You were coming to the U.S. and had to cancel. We will do our best on Saturday with live support live to cheer you up. We will do it. The show, well, Starbus 4 was the planet with the plague, right? Yeah. And Hanon too. Yeah. You missed the Akuta books. Well, they're out there, aren't they? Can't you get them? And there you go. I don't do a lot of merch news just because it's out there and everybody else is doing it. But yeah, Picard and Discovery in the tabletop RPG, what I used to call the dice and paper world. But yeah, there we go. Scott talking about Discovery. Yeah, some of that was planned. A lot of shows in the serial world, like production designers, they only come aboard, or costume designers or visual effects producers, the top guy or gal, they only come aboard for the pilot and they don't want to work on a series. They come in, they start the blueprint, the template, and then they go off and do something else. And other people pick up that and move ahead. So that's not all a sign of tumult. And I know on Discovery, the production designers, that plan was pretty much the plan from the beginning. But yeah. Well, Dan, Take it for what it's worth. I'm kidding there. Holding the book that way reminds you of being, yes. Yeah, did you notice the title bar does have plural, right? Oh, I guess, it says double unboxing. That's what I meant. Yeah, Nathaniel, David's Voyager documentary is back on track. It's never not been on track. It's only been the pandemic. And that's what you meant. Maybe that's what you meant. Yes. Mark. Yes. Hey, Will, belated happy birthday. Anybody born on Pearl Harbor Day and Motion Picture Day deserves a happy birthday. Yeah, yep. Well, by opening those boxes, Narda and High Down Under, I was singing for my supper there as a way of speaking. So, yes. Clayton says, did DS9 get a celebration book? That's one I'd like to see. Well, not up front, maybe another 5 years. You got the documentary for DS9 on time. So, we'll see. Hey, Justin J.P. Perry. Hey, Justin. You're very welcome. You can't wait for the Portal 47 5th anniversary. Yay. I'm glad to see you there. And what are you saying here, Daniel? There'd be so much universe that may be contradicted by future seasons. Talking about... Oh, I'm losing track in the thread here. What did Jared say? I lost the thread. I'm sure you'll straighten us out. Yeah, the very early making of Voyager book was kind of, but he, Stephen, rest his soul, died right after that came out, and I got it autographed. It's up here, but it's just like the making of. You love the making of Star Trek, the classic original, but it just oozes. The first thing I did was sit down and pull all of his sections out and I didn't make an index. I made a whole new 10-page manual pulled from his sections in a way that made sense so I could look up stuff without having to find. Where's the paragraph on communicators? Where's the one about the deck layout? What was on each deck? Yeah. It's all it's all Hero Collector, Time and Simon Schuster, Penguin, Random House. And a partridge in a pear tree. Who needs gifts when the McRib is back? Yeah, there you go. A little product placement from McDonald's. Thank you, Brian. Okay, we are now turning into the Golden Arches show, and there you go for the saga. Yeah, Dan, it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that. Trying to catch up on the chat, guys. We're talking about novels. Yep, Delancey is going to be on for some Q&A chats. There you go. Yep, and Jared, you all know the reason. He says early novels contradicting aired canon. The MH calling himself Zimmerman. You do know that's because the entire you look at any first year script and they use Zimmerman for the Doctor. They were going to drag out the joke of him picking a name and then finally pick a name. It's a lot like not killing off a red shirt in Enterprise. They didn't, the first time they could have done it in Strange New World, they decided, oh, it's too early. Let's not do it yet. We might want this character back. And then it took them into the middle of the Xindi War before they finally had someone die. It was such a reaction to the red shirt meme of the original series. And it just kind of grew and then no one wanted to touch it. And it's the same way with the Doctor name. From the beginning, it was going to be Doc Zimmerman. And Jerry, I said, so he's named for Herman Zimmerman, the production designer. And Jerry said, no. And I never could figure out where the Zimmerman came from. I still think it was Herman, but as an homage to Herman. But it just became a thing that they didn't touch after they even quit making jokes about it. And then second season, they said, we're just going to keep calling him the Doctor. But all 26 first season scripts, if you look at them in the dialogue lines, it's it calls him Zimmerman. He's Zimmerman. If you talk to Bob that first year, he would say, yeah, we're going to play with the name thing a little bit. Feel like you've crossed time and universes. Scott, do I need your information for open house if you're already in the portal? Yes, because I'm going to have one portal list that I can use for drawings and for mailing the link. And for all of you Portal 47ers, I've got to post this. I'm so behind. It'll be a special meeting place. It won't be our regular portal. It won't be our regular telebriefing location. So I'll be putting that on the page and sending an email on my list of things to do. So yes, if you're in Portal 47, if you're on any other list of mine somehow, please go. If you're on my regular news list, please go over and jump on and do that link so you're in the list for the prize drawings. Okay, guys and gals? Have I ever thought about writing a book about Portal 47? Let's have a little more history to it first. It's been pretty... but thank you for thinking about that, William. I've had people say I should write a book about, over the years, which is kind of amazing to me. It feels like I've told all the stories between cons and between the early years of going on Trek FM before I had my own shows and my own shows. But yeah. What'd you get, Jared? Survey just popped in your email wanting your opinion on how they can improve CBS. All access or the network at large or the whole corporation? That's interesting. Daniel, how would I rate season 3 of Discovery so far? I would use a letter scale. No. The best season so far started off like gangbusters. I think there was a little bit of a drop, but the season of Discovery is much better in that the episode titles and the standalone episodes, even though they're part of an arc, make sense. You can grab a hold of them in your tactile memory. They make sense as standalone episodes, even while, yes, they are part of the overall puzzle arc. And that's what I think has made it better. And then developing the bridge crew. What a concept. And all kinds of things. Even though there's the hinky-dinky, wacky-dacky tech, you just kind of wipe it all. You hand wave it all and say, well, it's 32nd century. Which is what we do when we talk about warp drive. I see people online still talking about Star Trek is insane because they have warp drive and nothing goes faster than the speed of light. And I just want to say, have you ever seen Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court? It was all about 20th century guy going back to the Middle Ages and mystifying them with magic. So yeah. But that's what I'd say. I don't know. I'm enjoying it the most of all the discoveries so far. I care about things now. I was caring about things last season, but it was all about Pike and Spock. And get this Red Angel thing over with already. Speaking of Voyager, documentary is in the making. Oh, very much yes, so. Oh, you meant yes. Yeah. So yes, I guess we need a deep... Although there was Gar and Judy did a deep dive making of the beginning of DS9 book, but it's very season onesie-twosie. So everything that people think about DS9 now, the buildup of the Dominion and the Dominion War and the Arc, and all of that, and the maturation of the characters, and the 47 different recurring characters, that wasn't so much part of that, but there was plenty to talk about in the beginning. Yes. Christoph, what's funny is David told me, like, I'm almost embarrassed because I'm like in one bit at the very end. I have one sentence at the very end. And I told David, you didn't have to put me in just to put me in. That's almost embarrassing. And he's like, no. You were part of a couple of other packages, but they wound up with so much stuff. They even had it edited into segments. And they had so much of that they had to pare down to get to a 2-hour, 90 to 120 minute documentary, that they hated it. And they didn't use it all in bonus features on the DVD because the DVD would only hold so much. So this sequel is really largely about exploring a lot more themes that they had footage of all those, 20, 30 people that they interviewed, that a lot of it's already edited and pretty much, massaged. So there we go. Have I read the casting notes for Star Trek Strange New Worlds and Prodigy? I did see the Strange New Worlds one, thanks to somebody last on our Ask Dr. Trek call. Guys, I've had my head down with some live stuff and also trying to do business things here and new Trek. And I know it's going to come mid-January, and the new Trek that's driving so much conversation and craziness will finally have some time to assimilate that. I didn't see the Prodigy notes, though. But Strange New Worlds, they've got bland vanilla names, just what they did with Picard. But that's interesting. I long for the days when everybody didn't blab, but people would just collect the fax paper and hang on to it. Like we have the fax casting sheets they were in my TNG book 5 years in. And also for Enterprise. I don't have it for Voyager, which is weird because that's the one that we were here for. Anyway. Yeah, trying to figure out how do you top that writer's room? Yes, we did, Lawrence. Of course, by now, I don't know. Yes, Tim. Yes, social distance, wear your mask, and don't be a Herbert. Yes. And maybe the Prodigy gang gets to play with the Voyager, since Kate's part of it. Yeah, we'll see. Having a stick of Beemans in his honor. Hey, Lawrence, if you can find a stick of Beemans, let the rest of us know. I was reading where they've been out of business. Maybe there's a memorial set somewhere. Or did you put back a box 20 years ago or something? Oh, Cairo, do you really want to open up that can of worms? I guess so. Hey, Earl Grey Trekkie, I'm glad you're joining us. Hey, Earl, good to see you coming over from YouTube. You love my discussion on Trek on the Tubes channel show, i.e., about TOS moving forward. Yeah, as sad as it was. In fact, I'm going to do a topic here. There was a piece of me that wanted to wait until Strange New Worlds premiered, but who knows when the hell that's going to be now, in another year and a half. So another year, given COVID. So I feel like talking about it now before somebody else gloms onto it and it's something else that somebody claims. It's the only way, and I'm going to vague speak it here. It's the only way for the belovedness of TOS and its DNA with a whole generation of fans, which is admittedly shrinking the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s fandom, that it was the first. And they not only was the original series first, but it ran from day one of cancellation. It ran 5 days a week on every friggin' station in the country for 20 years with no competition for attention, Star Trek or otherwise. So yeah. So the next generation, and everybody since then, you've got your sensation, and even the syndication, and you've got DVD, Blu-ray sets. All the disc sets are here, and streaming. All of that is here to reinforce it whenever you want it. But you've got competition from the Treks are piling up. You've got other sci-fi. Media is just in your life 24/7. And fandom and Comic-Con's mentality. But you talk about Star Trek pioneering that. What that really meant was that's all you had for 30 years. So I don't know how we're ever going to let anybody else experience Star Trek that way. So you can't wipe away the original series. And that's why it's so, I don't want to say galling, but that's why it's eye-opening to me to read younger viewers talk about wanting to, but not being able to assimilate the original series because it's just too old. Life experience will take care of some of that. And finding out that, oh, look, there's video media recorded in black and white. Talking about old and badly edited and badly visual affected. But eventually, that the proof of the real turn on the original series and all of our tech from all the shows is going to be when we really do get into more even if not proven, more theoretical versions of what a faster than light or a subspace warp bubble drive will look like. And it won't have anything to do with the lithium, and they won't use matter and antimatter as the you know, when all, you think it's something right now trying to retcon the eugenics wars, and here in what, 2 or 3 years, the Bell riots, and in 50 years, World War III, yikes. Eventually we'll have that just on a science level with propulsion and computer usage and all of that, and computer interfaces. Look what happened with cell phones. You didn't have to wait till the 23rd century to have a flip-top portable communication device. So much less tricorders and pads. So eventually, yeah, I think the only way to retcon the belovedness, don't wipe it away, nature of the original series with the preponderance of eventual evolution in Trek, and as the original generation dies away, is to chalk it up that way that we talked about. And I'm not going to say any more. I've said too much already. Go check out that episode, or stay tuned for when I get to it here. It's a long road to the remote. Okay, I don't know what divides people the way the Enterprise theme song does. Or maybe it doesn't really, because by then the fandom that watched it in the beginning was so tiny. Okay. Hey, Earl Grey, the seasons 1 and 2 were okay, but really enjoying 3 way better than The Mandalorian. We're waiting on The Mandalorian to totally drop before we watch it, per better half's discretion. She wants the freedom to watch as much as she wants to watch without being interrupted. And there you go. Yes, congrats on Mike on the new deal. We will see. Hey, Linda, the video and the audio are super crisp. Yay. I did part of my delay today was a restart of everything. I almost forgot. I'm so hip deep in computer frames before the open house tomorrow night. Let's see. How much of the increase on the parrots is due to people being butthurt about Tilly being first officer? She's acting first officer. My goodness. Yeah, bad publicity is still publicity. Yes. Yes, and I did talk about that, Alan. Finally, I meant to do it before the break, and I didn't. So there we go. Rose, you just need good old Star Trek. Feelings, people, conventions, not negative feelings. Need positive things. Hope the open house goes well tomorrow. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, that's been kind of a dividing line for people. And again, I think some of that goes back to the story structure. We used to have, even if you had chaos ending up in a all-pat story, right? If it was a standalone story, which means you have an initial incident, like any drama, any story starts off with things out of kilter somehow, some way, somewhere, and then they're back to rights by the end of the story. Even if something else has changed, you're back in a settled place. Well, instead of that happening every hour, now it happens every 10 or 13 hours. And so it's like delayed positivity gratification for an ending. And a lot of people read that as things being chaotic. And we just binge watched Picard. And kind of the way I thought intellectually, but you don't know it until you experience it. It flies by very quickly. All the things, as we said back in the day, like 9 months ago, all the things that divide us week to week, watching these chapters week at a time, that all becomes ethereal. Watching it as a binge watch, easily binge watchable 10-hour saga, 13-hour saga. You're welcome, Justin. Yay. What crossover can we talk about when the actual episode has aired, not just a preview? There's a throwaway line in. That's what I was doing. I don't know about you. I haven't seen the episode yet. Hey, Rose says she hopes I can do highlights from the open house with David Carson, the director. I do clips and offer the clips later on. The open house is public. It's not behind a paywall. So we'll have it out in pieces and the whole thing eventually too. Yeah, a lot the way I did with Robert Butler from Well, when he was an open house guest, and then when we did him live in person down at Comic-Con. Never rule it out with Paramount Plus. Let me take a sip here, guys. It's not drinking game on life support live, but Jared says, don't knock the Kelvin timeline down to being just another parallel universe. It's responsible for the influx of a large chunk of fandom over the last decade or so. I didn't mean socially in real world, but I'll clarify. I meant that it is 6 hours of storytelling and not developed except for a few comics and novels that a few people have read. I don't think the vast majority of fandom has read the Kelvin novels and comics. So my point is, it's only been 6 hours versus what? 5 hours on DS9, 2 hours on Discovery, the original Mirror, and what? 4 or 5? I mean, it's been double or triple the amount of hours in the Mirror universe as in the Kelvin. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about quantity, and quantity is what adds up to the math that lodges in your brain and your heart. So that's what I meant. Yes, but at the same time, it was Star Trek for 10 years, and I've said many times that the Kelvin movies were the best gateway drug that Star Trek ever had. Otherwise, we really were in fallow times. But it was like, it's a passing thing, but it's a great way to tread water. And the way things are going now, that may be what it is. Whether we have no movies for a while, or the movies go in a different direction, or they reunite with, whatever they do, there's a very real chance that the Kelvins may be done, unless someone picks up Kelvin's universe again with that cast. My bottom line is, the Mirror universe is a real contrast to Prime. The Kelvin universe was, I'm sorry guys, the Kelvin universe was just born out of laziness. How do we do movie stories that are exactly what you know, until it's different? I'm sorry. They were well made, and yes, they brought tons of people in, and we should all be thankful for that. It took me a long time to get to that. Katinga, thank you, Cairo. I can't talk. Did I say Datinga? Yeah, Katinga. Yes, everybody. Yes. I don't know, Cairo, but let's just say it did. Yes, we need to get Bill Prady in here and ask him if Bazinga came from Katinga. Young Sheldon. We need to have a Young Sheldon episode where he has trouble saying Katinga, and it comes out Bazinga, and that's the origin story right here. This sounds like a major event in life, Linda. Your husband watching STO9. Excellent, excellent. There you go. Oh, it's engaging. It totally sucks you in. Totally engaging and sucks you in. Exactly, Narda. Exactly. I come at the Kelvin movies also in desperation. I'm getting older. And 10 years ago, I didn't want to wait. I knew they would run 10, maybe 12 years. I knew there would be 3 or 4 movies. Movie actors have movie careers unless they get desperate. It's not a TV paradigm. I said this all the time in my column in Star Trek Magazine when I had that in-page column. And I said it all along in all the podcasts I did through the aughts. In the early days of this on Tuesdays. I knew they would run 3 or 4 years because of human factors and politics and finances and pendulum swing. And all I really wanted was episodic TV back in the prime, because that's what's the most developed. Why are we having to split our, why, what's the phrase? Why, dilute your fire? You thought your VHS was defective with the overture? Yeah. Have you ever seen like The Music Man or The Sound of Music or West Side Story when they made big musical overtures? And I know this wasn't a musical, but they still did it. Lawrence of Arabia, War and Peace, Dr. Zhivago, all those big things. Oh, Linda, you're bringing over... Shh. That's a usage that's trademarked to Life Support Live on Saturdays. We can't say K3 Factor on Tuesdays. I'd get in trouble. Oops. So, yeah, that was amazing. That's what Life Support Live, that's my little piece of Trekland for Life Support Live. It's what we do here all the time. So actually, K3 is a mini Trekland for the Life Support Live mental health crowd. That's what that is. Yep. Hello, Silka. Hello, Silka. Are you new to us on Tuesdays? Thanks for coming by if you are, or if you're not. You think about Michael Burnham as a TOS character in a TNG crew. What do I think? Okay. She's 23rd century. We've got 60s versus 80s, 90s eras of production and people and audience expectation versus Star Trek canon 23rd versus 24th century. But I think I know where you're coming from with that. Yeah. And then you've got Tilly coming in as a Discovery crew member in a... Oh, wait. Yeah. Luckily, funny, Tim. Very funny. Yeah. Speaking of singers, today, guys, is the 40th anniversary, and I hate to date these, but no one's going to watch this later on Facebook. This is the 40th anniversary of John Lennon's assassination. It'll be this evening. And yes, I'm in the Howard generation. Cody Clark and I were watching Monday Night Football on Thursday night, and Howard Cosell broke in to announce it. And our other roommate, Kevin, my oldest best friend, Kevin, two of my oldest friends anyway, roommates. And he actually looked up from his studiously avoiding football, working on his art. And we all looked at each other. It was kind of it was a shock. And I wasn't I was a Beatles fan, but I wasn't like a huge Beatles fan, not like my better half was. And actually her first husband, and they were all in shock. When we all were in shock. It's like, what? For one thing, it was like, are we going back to another round of assassinations? Is it 1968 again? Wasn't that so 60s? Haven't we gotten through all that? But, then we had the era of the psychos. And what's his name shooting at Reagan 3 or 4 months later. Just a few months later. Hi, Dennis. Thank you for asking. Last week, I said Trek Files would be back today. Hello, Dennis, and thanks for being with us. Maybe first time. I said Trek Files will be back today. I was wrong because we want to get a few more in the can before we come back, even as we record. So keep watching. We will let you know. All my channels and the Trek Files page too. If you're not over on the Facebook page for Trek Files, that's the hub. So make sure you like that and you'll know. And I'll be announcing it everywhere too, especially after I survive the open house planning. But we're thinking next week, but don't hold me to that. Before Christmas, I will say that. I'm pretty sure before Christmas. Hate to be so loosey-goosey there, but once we start, we want to have a straight through path through both holidays. Yes, the times they are changing. What are you saying here, William? You want to see me and Ali do live chat about my TNG companion guidebook? Talk about binge watching. That would be something. And here's Alan's weekly reminder about the writing a letter for a stamp for Gene Roddenberry's centennial next year. And Alan, I'm going to say, if this is especially a passion project for you, and it should be for every fan, whether you're a stamp collector or not, whether we even use stamps or not anymore, it's a great, great, great thing to do. Maybe finally El Paso's cranky city council will let that stretch of I-10 through El Paso be named the Gene Roddenberry Memorial Highway like they tried to do 10 or 15 years ago. But Alan, you are going to enjoy one of the Trek Files that's coming up when we do get the new season started, okay? Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court reminds you of Time's Arrow. I wonder why. Yep, Mark Twain and a little Data masquerading there as Mark Twain's character. Yep. Mark Twain. You're not just stringing me along here, are you, Jesse? Come on. Well, thank you, Dan. You're breaking news to me. No, I'll have to go research that. I've been working. Alan, Beeman's is still available. I was just reading about this. Don't trust the internet. And they said the Beeman's company's been out of production. Okay, I'll give it another look then. Thank you for the information. Guys, this is especially during lockdown. See, look at this. This is two-way communication, kiddos. Yeah, I read this and got into it a week ago, and I haven't had my head back into it. Yes, Mabenga was the one especially. Mabenga was the one especially, which would be interesting. It would be a way to diversify the cast, not tread on emotions for what's to... Well, McCoy's not there anyway. But if you don't want to go back to Boyce, Mabenga could just have been with the ship for ages. He could have been right out of an intern and then been there as you saw him in second season. Totally doable. Or transferred away and come back. Okay. Well, I'm hearing, thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, LT. Beeman's is still out there. I need to go blow up that Wikipedia or whatever it was page that I saw. Sorry for putting out wrong information. Thank you guys for keeping it honest. Okay. And Beeman's at Joanne's, because we all know how crafty Beeman's is. Yes. Yeboah. I saw that. Her early 20s. So we just didn't see her back there at the Pike time or at the, it gets back to that whole thing about how much of a crew does a captain bring along and how much, I mean, guys, people forget Picard did not pick Riker to be his first officer when he took command of the D. Remember? Not only had they not met, he said, you were out of a stack of things that were recommended to me. It's kind of amazing. It's like he didn't even go through the selection process. You would not include 80s and 90s Trek fandom as being the original, given the hostility that 67's TOS grads greeted them with. Jared, that we're talking about the loud 10%. Okay? I was a 70s fan as a baby and 80s. And remember, Next Gen didn't start till 87. So the 80s, 2/3 of the decade was original series and the movies going on, right? Wrath of Khan was 82, 84, 86 was the trilogy. And I was very much an original series fan who wanted to tell those loud anti-Next Gen folks to shut up. I did often. Well, not like that. Metaphorically, I told them to shut up. And yes, this is the one that I actually in the moment got my mind thinking, I wonder if that's code word for Mabenga. So we will see. Okay, Cadbury Adams is still making Beeman's on a batch. It's the McRib of gum. Okay, there we go. Very kind of you to say that, Linda. Did Star Trek Continues help to increase enthusiasm for TOS? It was brilliant. Thank you. I'm saying thank you on behalf of all the people that did 90% more work on it than I ever did. And that wasn't so much the intention. They just did it for themselves. And the people that it was kind of overwhelming after the premiere. I'll never forget that. The world premiere of episode 1 at Phoenix Comic-Con. And every fourth person said, I feel like I'm a kid again going home after school to see a new episode. So, yeah. Yes, true, Tim. I'm just here to tell you guys, don't let them revise history. There was a chunk of Star Trek, just like right now, there was a chunk. The vast majority of Star Trek fans were thrilled to have a new show. I think it was maybe the people who were the most invested that had a hard time dealing with the paradigm change. But a lot of that was the paradigm change over just 20 years having gone by and new ways of doing production and promotion. Let's see. We're still talking about the Enterprise theme. Yay. Thank you, Justin. This is the thing I want to dive into, this whole impenetrable layer of seeing the original series. That difference between younger and old, younger fans in the original series, it's more than just old. I think we younger Trekkies don't know how to describe it well. I still need to watch all of TOS. I have favorites, but never sat through them all for the same reason, that it's too old. But I've heard people talk about the acting style. I mean, people have talked about, you know, the plywood sets and the Christmas lights and the visual effect. Well, the CGI got a makeover. So that's a quasi done deal now as far as a reason. But people talk about the, you know, and there's plenty of glitches. The original series was not all gold-plated brilliance, diamonds and gems. There are plenty of clunkers. I would be happy to tell you that. But as a body, just as a way it was done. And the first season, the lighting, you know, the costumes evolved from velour to double knit. I mean, the third season, the first season looked like they're 5 years apart, not 2 years apart. In some ways, the visual ways. But this is a conversation that I really, really, really want to have with people. And I've appreciated seeing some really thoughtful conversation threads online that I've fallen into. I've lurked, I've just read. But it's not people being blunt or, you know, or just stupid. They're really thoughtful people struggling to watch it, even, you know. And I just come back to the fact that I just think the more you sample older media in general, for one thing, go watch what else was on at the same time before, you know, go look at, I mean, there's a reason things are classic, even apart from Star Trek writing a whole paradigm about fandom. There's a reason things are classic. There's a reason I Love Lucy is a classic sitcom. Go look at what else passed for a sitcom in those days. I mean, yeah, it was filmed and not live into kinescopes, but, you know, go watch I Married Joan, which was a ripoff of I Love Lucy. The domestic, yeah. Jared, that's fine. I have a whole box of Hallmark ornaments. That's just my little tree that I threw up for a special project, and I just decided to keep it up. I was thinking about going and digging out some ships for that one, but, you know. Let's see what everybody's into. Linda has a few extras, ornaments. Well, Narda, I think that's kind of the basic tenet there. Everybody has their first. I've said this many times. You never forget your first. And I'm talking about Star Trek here. You never forget your first. And no matter what comes later, including finding the earlier later, your first is always your first. Amen. Amen, Rose. Amen. About working together. Jesse says you're hoping for a Galactica type reasoning, having the modern 23rd century tech redesigned in old NASA style human ingenuity for security reasons. Well, the original reason when Star Wars went all greebly crazy and Star Trek immediately looked, you know, slick and under budgeted and cheap was because that was the power. The power was that you didn't have to have the guts hang out of everything. The power was you didn't have to have every single damn control on your interface. You had multiple overlays. You could, you know, that it helped the subspace bubble when you're talking about a ship hull, that the interface was a new design element. And then Gene came up with his technology unchained idea that you didn't have to have things look gutsy and detailed to be powerful. That was the whole conceit. You also didn't have to have a rear clear piece of material in the front of your bridge. The power was that was your imaging system. You've heard me talk about that. So yeah, the whole thing was we can be this simple looking because we have that much power. We are so sophisticated that we don't have to show our work. Yeah. We're like the kid that does the math problem in our head and doesn't have to write it down because we're always correct. The teacher never has to go back and try to help us with extra points. Yeah. To find that one thing where we just added wrong in one. Into a deep conversation here, Jason. and Justin and everybody. Would a Trek series play better given our current binge watching setting if it's written in a one-shot 13-hour story and then produced into separate episodes? That's what they're doing now. That's what Discovery and Picard are doing. I guess I'm missed the point maybe there. Earl, oh, you're just now watching Voyager for the first time and seeing why it's so unloved. Yeah, well, the first, it's like, there are a lot of growth episodes in the beginning. It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to hear from you. There isn't going to be another Kelvin film. It's looking that way, huh? I think the world kind of caught up to what I was saying. It's like, what's the point? The point about Kelvin movies was never about the Kelvin universe. It was about doing something by people who had the keys that they could do at the time. Nobody was allowed to make a TV series. It had to be a movie. Everything had to be revamped. We're going to go back to the original, except not worry about canon. So we'll make it an alternate universe. Yeah. It was a major life event for your husband, Linda. Okay. Yay. It was a golden opportunity to tell new, fresh ideas in a different timeline with a familiar crew we knew. Okay. It was cool new stories with fake people. Okay. How does that help me add to any of my understanding of the people I've got 700 hours in with already? That was my point. But it took me a long time to get to that. I wanted to like the Kelvin movies. I wanted to support them. I didn't want to not support them. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Jason, what do we think Saru's catchphrase will be? See, there's no need for me to get into all this because you guys are doing it. I'd rather take a cue from you instead of just piling on. But this is fun. A simple, subtle, and Saru-like proceed, but they built it up so much, maybe it's something more fancy. Well, or will they pay it off? This is a lot like the EMH doctor, what will his name be joke. There we go. Proceed. Yeah, ready with sport. Yeah, what do we say? Ready at your command, sir. Proceed. What is the Captain Nita catchphrase? Well, they had them. They had them. And boy, howdy, if you didn't know what Picard's was, you sure got it by the time of the third pilot there. Well, yes, Tim, that's one of those moments where you remember where you were. And we had Generation that finally got beyond JFK, Pearl Harbor and JFK and Apollo 11. It's like only 1 out of 5 of those events is a good one because that's planned. The unpleasant things are the things that happen out of the blue, and that's part of the shock value of remembering that moment in time in your own life. Cairo says Picard didn't have one phrase; he used multiple. Engage, make it so. Energize. Energize was a Starfleet catch, was a Starfleet command. Oh, Cairo, you're just looking at somebody who saw everything at once. Make it so, and of course, tea Earl Grey hot, but make it so is the real Picard catchphrase. It's just that we've had the biggest generation now identify with him saying engage. Kirk and Kirk would say engage, especially for beaming. Aquatarg on Twitch. Hi, Twitch. How are things over in the Twitch universe? So long, Scott. Glad you could join us. We're going on long time here. You guys are just very chatty Cathy here in the holiday times. Thank you, Jared, for that moment of clarity. Nixon's "I'm not a crook" speech was given at Disney World's resort. Wow. It's now the Ballroom of the Americas. There you go. There you get. If Star Trek ever gets a captain born in Austria, he could use Gemma. Gemma or Gemma? Gemma? Okay, there you go. We heard it here first. We got the Austrian lobby over here. Cairo and Christoph. Well, they saw it as a threat to their careers, but that did go away. Yeah. They felt like they were being marginalized after all they had done for the franchise and put out to pasture. Yeah. And nobody came to them and said, well, here's our master plan. Partly because they didn't know what the master plan was. Sometimes you just have to live things to get through them. Yes. Yes. And we could have, what's his name? I've gone blank on his name. We could have a Dr. Benayoun CGI'd younger in there. Was Benayoun the CMO of the Stargazer, or just one of the doctors on staff that happened to be a close friend of Jean-Luc? Okay, Christoph, I'm just going to leave that one to you. Oh, we've got Twitter spam. Yay. Okay, not obscene, just spammy. Good attitude, Jim. It's okay if you have favorites, you know. Jess, that's becoming kind of some version. Mine is close to this, basically. But yeah. Yes. Very cool, Nathaniel. Having your son excited about Star Trek. I'm excited for the fact that we don't have to recreate. We don't have to have kids in the Trek family. We're actually procreating Star Trek fandom outside of literal procreation, which is helpful. I'm waiting for the day when something catches fire and I go to a generic, well, I'm waiting for the day when I go to a generic Comic-Con again, but I'm waiting for the day when I can go to a generic Comic-Con like San Diego or name it and see something. I thought maybe Jayla from Beyond was going to be that, but it obviously wasn't. I'm waiting for the day when something, especially among the young girl fandom, takes it and explodes and they take it and run with it. So we'll see. There you go, John X. See, in a lot of circles, there was no real obvious hate by older fans. Yep. And there, it wasn't the strongest show in the beginning too. So yeah. Only until later that you learned about that. Yes, we call these allegories, William. But Gene did that. Okay, trying to wrap up the end of the thing here. Oh, hi, Christine. TOS and Wild Wild West was a late generation. It's a Western, but it was like James Bond, Man from U.N.C.L.E. in the Wild Wild West, but the trying to push the envelope with the film styles and the editing and shooting and all of that. Yep. Yes, it is. The two-parter of Discovery coming up. Let's see. Voyager is so underrated. Yeah, well, it has its high points. I've talked many times about how it was hard to watch Voyager be made for me. I see Voyager as the potential that it didn't get up to be, but that you'd look at it through the other end of the telescope, and there's so many incredible parts of Voyager that have long lastingness. Janeway's as a role model, Seven as a character, obviously. So yeah, the Doctor. Okay. All right, Dan, that explains so much. No, I'm kidding. Into Darkness is your favorite film of all kinds, all time? Okay, sidebar conversations, guys. I'm looking for actual questions. But I'm glad you guys are conversing. There you go. Well, see, you're all saying catchphrase as in the command to go to warp. But, you can have a catchphrase beyond that. Jim Stoffel said, I'm going back here. Yay. Oh, Voyager was your entree. Again, you never forget your first. Whatever it was, it will always be special for you. But everybody comes to Star Trek at different times in different generations, especially now. It's overlapping. It's overlapping. There's a Star Trek for everyone. And if you're still treading water, hold our beer. There's more coming. Okay, Jared. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, okay. Where'd that go? I missed it. Hey, Christine. Actually, technically, TAS was my first two. Technically, by choice. Keep Me Informed was Janeway. Okay, there we go. Well, guys, yes. Exactly. Soon there will be a whole young audience coming to Star Trek through Prodigy. Exactly. Finally. I was saying this in the 90s, but, we didn't have the business models to get it done then. Yes. Okay then. Phew. Oh my goodness. What series other than Star Trek would I recommend to a Star Trek fan? Well, our good friend John Champion is a huge Man from U.N.C.L.E. fan and can talk about the ups and downs of that over its 5 seasons. Wild Wild West is great. But there's all I love Laugh-In. I love Green Acres. Sitcoms and variety things too. But dramas, I was a young kid. Didn't go in much for drama. I was stuck watching what everybody else was watching. My grandpa Nemecek watched The Virginian. My grandma and grandpa Reynolds watched, they watched The Wild Wild West. We watched Bonanza every Sunday night. That's my memory of dramas. So it wasn't until, later. Anyway, I was a little kid and parents ran the TV. And Big Brother watched Lost in Space. I do remember that. Say goodnight, Larry. Yes, guys, that is officially, let's make that the end of the chat. Although please keep going on your own, guys. Hey, listen, once again, thanks for hanging in with us. I really want to remind everybody, if you're not there yet, go over and click in and get your name on the list so I can let you know where our open house, our 5th anniversary open house is coming tomorrow night with David Carson. And you're in the list for the pool. I'm experimenting with a new live name drawer for the random draws for some of these books and the Picard season 1 thing going on. So thank you guys for all the interest in the Trek Files. We will be back. I got burned for saying this week, last week. So here in the next week or two, we'll leave it at that. And you're on all my channels. Go over and like this page on Facebook and you'll know for sure. Okay. It will be a Tuesday very soon and before Christmas. Also, where are we here? Again, one more thanks and a shout out to all of our Patreons, our TTL Club, and our Live Wires. Thank you guys so much. Patreon.com/Trekland Live for all the perks. And of course, on Saturday mornings, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Life Support Live. We will be back with our themes as long as they hold up with new Trek, and then we'll be back to coming up with other themes, other diagnoses, all through a Star Trek lens, going boldly through uncertain times, which seem to be remaining uncertain for some time to come. If not for ourselves and our own personal lives, for societies as a whole, we'll see. Hope you can join us and be with us on that Saturday. Otherwise, guys, there's the wrap up. Join me on Twitter. Please, that's my YouTube. If you haven't subscribed on If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. I got into the game late, so I'm really I'm way behind on numbers. Please like, share, subscribe, share it to friends you know, and say, hey, Larry's trying to get up his numbers. We're doing the same thing on Twitch, but boy, that's a stretch. And of course, portal47.net. You want to be there tomorrow night. You really do. Guys, thanks again for being with us. We had a lot of new faces, new names today. Hope to see you around Trekland and all the ways a little more often. Let's see what this exciting new Discovery two-parter and end of the season brings. Let's see what holidays bring. Let's see what the new year brings. We're not there yet really to talk about it, but that's where our heads are, right? Otherwise, I hope to see a lot of you tomorrow night. It would be awesome to have you in the mute audience. Although at the first half hour, we're going to be doing some audience things. So don't be late. It'll be a Zoom meeting, which means that I won't be there until top of the hour at 7. Okay, David Carson starts at 7:30, and before that, we'll do at least one drawing and have a little bit of what we call the Ask Dr. Trek roundtable format. Maybe we'll call on some of the newbies that I see in the audience there and or let people jump up and talk before we settle down for our guest hour with David Carson. Other than that, guys, I said it before and I'll say it again until we talk again, wherever it is, however it is out there. Please stay healthy. Please stay woke. Check your sources. Most of all, everybody, trek well.